The bride who hissed at her own mother. It started with a phone call and a favor. A shop owner I knew and loved called me practically begging. A bride was getting married the following Saturday, and she needed her first fitting tomorrow, Saturday, 1 week out. The dress was a size 14. The bride was a size 0, maybe 2. Heavily beaded Queen Anne neckline. I hate Queen Anne necklines. In other words, exactly the kind of project that should never be attempted in a 1 week timeline. I said yes because, frankly, I'd eat dirt for this lovely woman who owned the bridal shop. At the end of the Saturday fitting, I knew I had a lot of work to do in a very short amount of time. The next fitting was Monday, and somehow I pulled off what I can only call a small miracle. The dress fit. It actually fit. I stood back proud of the work. And then she started complaining. The shoulders, she said, were too tight, too small. With a little clarification, it became apparent that she wanted the dress to look like a blazer. She wanted to extend those shoulders a good 1.5 inches beyond her shoulders. I don't get it. So I told her I'd extend it and to come back the next day. Early the next morning, my phone rang. It was the mom. The bride had cried all night. She told her mother I had ruined the dress. Mom didn't want me to touch it again. They had already made arrangements to meet at the shop with a new seamstress, and I was to hand over the dress and any leftover lace on Wednesday. You guys, I had never experienced this kind of harshness before. I thought about it, and I fixed the shoulders anyway. I just couldn't do that to another seamstress, leave her with a dress like this on a Wednesday when the wedding was Saturday. I just couldn't do it. We met on Wednesday, and I apologized to the bride for the miscommunication and upsetting her. She tried on the dress. It fit exactly the way she wanted. Well, this actually made the bride mad. Her mother, clearly relieved, tried to give her daughter a compliment. The bride hissed at her, actually hissed like a cat. The bride glared in the mirror furiously, trying to find flaws as the mother and I quietly waited for this mystery seamstress to appear. Turns out it was the bride's best friend's brother. You'll have to watch the Blazer Shoulders video at the end of this newsletter to find out how that turned out. Bridezilla behavior in our fitting room is not always about the dress itself. Sometimes it's about a perception of beauty that the bride has never even said out loud. In this case, the bride had originally tried on a sample in a size 8. She loved the wide shoulders, though she never said so directly. What she had actually fallen in love with was the way the dress camouflaged a feature that she saw as a flaw, her own narrow shoulders. She felt beautiful in that silhouette. What she didn't understand was that the dress she ultimately needed in her true size would naturally sit narrower on the shoulder. She never explained any of this, not at the first fitting, not when she complained that the shoulders were too tight and small, when she insisted they be let out a full 1.5 inches past her actual shoulder line. I only learned the full story after the alterations were already done. This is one of the most talked about problems with bridal alterations that we just rarely discuss. A bride's relationship with her body often runs far deeper than the garment itself. She was asking to feel beautiful by hiding her narrow shoulders. Her vision of beauty included that broad shoulder and tiny waist silhouette. And without the language to express that and the understanding of dress sizing, the request came out sideways as criticism, frustration, and eventually a hiss. I learned a lot of lessons from that experience, some that have changed how I run every fitting. I never assume I know how a bride wants her dress to fit. And now, before a single pin goes in, every bride fills out a fitting sheet that asks two simple questions. What do you love most about this dress? And what do you like least about this dress? Those two answers tell me more about what the bride truly needs than any measurement ever could. A bride's relationship with her body shapes every decision she makes about her dress, whether she says so or not. When a bridal specialist doesn't uncover that relationship early, even a technically perfect alteration can feel like a personal failure to the bride. This is exactly why the two questions in my fitting sheet have become non negotiable. What do you love most about this dress? And what do you like least about this dress? These answers reveal the emotional truth behind the measurements. What makes her feel beautiful? And what she's quietly self conscious about. Asking before the first pin goes in turns guesswork into informed, confident fitting decisions, and it could prevent the kind of miscommunication that nearly cost me this bride entirely. It also protects you. A bride who has put her own words on paper, that what she loves, what she doesn't, is far less likely to claim you ruined a dress over something she never communicated in the first place. I would never wish this particular bride on anybody, but it happens. She's a sweet girl. She just, well, okay, no, she was not a sweet girl. She was a super stressed out. I imagine on a normal day and a normal thing that had nothing to do with wearing a dress that she was a very sweet girl. But it was bad, and I do not wish that on anybody, and I hope you can learn from my lessons and become a better bridal alteration seamstress. Bye-bye.